See some great gameplay from both of these guys.
Yeah, two very experienced players going up against each other to stay in the winner's bracket and continue to advance with that goal of becoming your Players' Cup 3 global champion. Here we go. We're ready to go ahead and get into game number 1 between both of these players. It should be an exciting one. I think both players want to go their own route in this case, right? Jeremy piloting that Pikachu and Zekrom deck wants to get that turn 1 Electrify off, while Luca playing that Archie-style Gunpolka deck wants to usually go first, but nope. That is not going to be the case here, as Luca's actually going to opt to go second in this case, is going to put Jeremy in the position. So I've actually seen some Archie-style Gunpolka players play this route, where they purposely make the Pikachu and Zekrom player go first. It's a little bit different. You do open up the possibility for Jeremy to get off that turn 2 full blitz onto that Archie-style Gunpolka, which can be scary. So it's a very interesting line. It will force Jeremy to hit more cards, needs to find that Pikachu and Zekrom turn 1, attach that Lightning Energy, and find the ability to utilize that Tapu Koko Prism Star in combination with yet another attachment. So Jeremy is going to have to maybe readjust his strategy a little bit. It's usually easy when you're playing this deck to just go second and electrify and then play from there. So we'll see how Jeremy can get things started and does find that turn 1 energy on a Pikachu and Zekrom. That's all you really need in this case. Don't know what else Jeremy has, but onto Luca. Has a nice solid start. Again, turn 1 Alter Creation is always a threat chip. It's always possible. We know how powerful turn 1 Alter Creation can be. It is a scary thing to see. Anytime you play against this deck, you just have to hope. Hopefully they don't find the pieces necessary, right? But again, it's always a possibility.
Yeah, and Luca has a pretty good hand here to actually just dig for that potential, right? If you can find the Crobat here, you've got the energy switch in hand, you get a metal energy in the discard pile. And, you know, if you hold on to this Cherish Ball as well, you can Crobat here for three or four cards, potentially, depending on how you play things out. And then you still have the option to Cherish Ball for the Dene to keep on digging. So let's see exactly what Luca wants to do here. And, you know, if Luca can find a Metal Saucer, this hand is going to be very, very good.
Yeah, it looks like considering whether or not to play safer in this case, right? And attach the energy maybe to this active, but is actually going to go ahead and go onto the bench at this point. Thought we maybe would see the digging for the water energy, but it's actually going to pay out here as there's really no grabs necessarily off that Crobat. Finds a few cool cards, another Air Balloon. That Skyla that we see is that tech supporter. Cute little tech supporter in this deck. Can find stuff like the Energy Spinner. Could honestly hold this hand and maybe just save the Skyla for the following turn, as that would guarantee the Alter Creation the following turn. So there's a lot of routes to take, and it looks like Luca maybe understands that could be the best route to really securing this here, as we will see the Intrepid Sword. An interesting card to note is playing Big Charm in the deck, so that will actually prevent Jeremy from being able to take a 2-hit knockout onto this active just by full blitzing twice. We'll be forced to utilize something like that Raichu and Alolan Raichu, tandem shock attack to do perfect math, take a knockout. So Jeremy, again, is going to have to find one more or set of cards, right, to get this knockout, and you need to get that off before an ultimate raise. And this is going to be a big Crushing Hammer. Hits heads. That's going to send Luca back a turn, essentially. Can still get off another Alter Creation, but especially with the Marnie coming out from Jeremy, it's going to put Luca on the back foot just like that. Just when we thought he was in a very solid position, Marnie just comes in, and it can just seal your dreams away, man.
Oh, yeah. Marnie plus Hammer, very solid. Luca getting a couple of Metal Saucers here, actually pretty solid. And it's going to be tough for Jeremy to really get an attack off here. You're hoping to either find an energy so that you can go for the Electrify to power up the Pikachu and Zekrom, or potentially the whole piece of, you know, finding the Tapu Koko with the Air Balloon and get the other energy to go for the Full Blitz. And we see the Cherish Ball here, so that could be a telling sign of Jeremy potentially digging with something like that Dedenne GX, Dede changing away the hand and trying to find the energy. Maybe that means that Jeremy missed the energy attachment from hand.
For Jeremy, you really don't want to play down those two prize fragile Pokemon like the Dene GX, like Crobat GX, but I think it may be worth the cost here if Jeremy can find, like you said, that Lightning Energy, that Tapu Koko Prism Star, all those pieces necessary. That would be exactly what he needs in order to really just get going and put on the aggression onto this Archie-style Gunpolka.
Yeah, and the fact that you hit the Crushing Hammer is definitely huge. Makes it much, much, much more difficult for Luca to really do very much. And we're actually going to see Jeremy eyeing up that Mewtwo and Mew right away. Definitely a strong attacker in this matchup. It's one of the more versatile options since it can utilize both Full Blitz, Tag Bolt, Tandem Shock, all of the different attacks from your GX Pokemon can be utilized by the Mewtwo, of course. So we'll see where, since we've seen this Speed Lightning come down to Bolton, we're definitely going to be seeing the Electrify. And let's see what Jeremy does with the energy here. Do we spread them out, one on each of these Pokemon, or do you go like 2 energies to the Mewtwo to try to power that up right away?
I'm not sure it's as relevant, right? You're either going to manual attach to the Pikachu and Sekirov next turn. We could see this actually throw 2 energy onto this Mewtwo and Mew. I think that's a pretty smart play. So we are actually going to see that. So this is nice from Jeremy. He wants to just have a more versatile attacker. It also, another thing to note, will force Jeremy to find a Rusted Sword. And the thing that hurts about this is you really want to be throwing these metal energies onto a Zacian that doesn't have a tool card or has a Rusted Sword. In this case, he's going to be forced to throw those energies onto that Zacian V with an Air Balloon. So it actually will not be able to take that one-hit knockout onto this Mewtwo and Mew. So this is where Luca maybe has to adjust the strategy a little bit, is considering whether or not to play this escape rope, if it's worth anything to bring up these other Pokemon. It will be one less thing Jeremy needs to find, right? Because if you do go in with something like the Zacian, I guess this will be an interesting choice. So Jeremy has a choice whether or not, or what to promote rather. So it's usually safer to promote something like this. Usually you want to promote something that's not going to take the most damage in this case. But what Luca could do is, instead of going for Ultra Creation, could go for a play with Brave Blade. So that could be an interesting line of play Luca takes, as we do see that Mew3 get promoted, that Mewtwo and Mew. And it looks like Quick Ball will find the Dene GX, Dene Change. Discards no cards from Luca's hand. A perfect 6 cards here off the Dene. Has a lot of options to work with off of this. There's Energy Spinners, another Escape Rope, Skyla, Research, a whole bunch of cards. And we're going to start things out with an Energy Spinner. So we could actually see Luca go for this play where Skyla grabs the Energy Switch. And we do see gets played, so I think that's what we're going to see. Skyla is going to grab the Energy Switch. That Water Energy can get played down for turn. Onto the ADP, Energy Switch will be able to get that second energy onto it. And we're seeing an Alter Creation here chip. Jeremy's got to put on some aggression before this Archeastyle and Polka gets rolling.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely a great draw here from Luca. Does go ahead and opt to play the Skyla, which I like. Just guarantee the Altered Creation. And sure, your, Arceus Palkia is likely to take a hit next turn from a Mewtwo and Mew using the full Blitz attack. But, you've set yourself up with another Zacian in play. You can try to dig with the Research and try to hit the pieces to find the knockout with that Rusted Sword, potentially. So, and also, of course, if Jeremy does ever put down a Dene GX or a Crobat, you can always, potentially find the pieces to get a Boss's Orders KO for 3 prizes.
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting line for Jeremy, and also for Luca as well. There is multiple potentials in this option, in this situation, rather. Jeremy could full blitz. I'm almost certain we're going to see a full blitz. I think if there's no full blitz, then Luca is just in an excellent position, right? Your Archeastyle and Polka is uncontested. You get to get off an Ultimate Ray, possibly even 2 in this position. So we see Jeremy going to go ahead and throw the Air Balloon down onto the active. Has not attached yet for turn, so has multiple places to attach. We could actually see the energy get thrown down to the Boltund to hit for some damage with Bolt Storm. A lot of options here in this Pikachu and Zekrom deck. Jeremy is going to just take some time, wants to think through the options here, as we do see the Speed Lightning energy go on to that active Mewtwo and Mew, so will not draw any additional cards, but again, will fulfill that attack requirement, as it still does provide a Lightning energy. As we see Research will discard some Lightning energy, could get brought back with that Tapu Koko Prism Star to accelerate that, if that is in the deck and not in the prize cards. And again, it will be very interesting to see where this Mewtwo and Mew accelerates those 3 energies from the full blitz. We could see it go into itself. It's not really being threatened to be knocked out. Luca would have to find a lot of cards, right? Energy Switch, Metal Saucer, Rusted Sword. Even me talking about it, it just feels like too much for Luca to find. But Jeremy is going to continue the turn with a Quick Ball, going to get rid of another Boltund out of the deck. Does play 4 in this list, so we've seen a lot of players sort of change things up, right? Play 4 Boltund in this list. It's been sort of a questionable count a lot of times on how many these players play. So is going to go ahead and grab that Tapu Koko Prism Star, is going to utilize Dance of the Ancients to get those 2 Lightning energy out of the discard pile that were just pitched with that Professor's Research onto those 2 bench Pokemon. Boltund is now hitting for a decent chunk of damage here. I believe it is hitting for 230 damage, but Full Blitz will be the attack of choice from Jeremy. It's going to deal 150 damage and accelerate 3 lightning energy. Again, this is going to be important. Where does Jeremy choose to accelerate his energy chip? What are your thoughts before he does select what to choose?
Yeah, a lot of times putting them on the active can be solid here. You can threaten a 5 prize turn next turn with the Tag Bolt, but looking at Luca's list is actually playing that copy of Mew from Unbroken Bonds. So I think because of that, we're just going to see Jeremy throw them onto the Pikachu and Zekrom. You still have the option, of course, to go for the Full Blitz, or excuse me, the Tag Bolt next turn, by getting the additional energy, but also they're a little safer maybe on the Pikachu and Zekrom, since even though it is difficult, Luca would probably have an easier time knocking out the active Mewtwo than knocking out the benched Pikachu and Zekrom.
And speaking of Mew, guess what's prize, Chip? The Mew. It is in the prize card, so Luca will be unable to access that. Jeremy obviously does not know this, but if we don't see a Mew come down this turn, then Jeremy can put together the pieces to Tag Bolt, right? The one card that's so useful in this matchup, the one card that you have here for this matchup and for the Urge VMAX, just when you need it, it just hurts so badly to have that in the prize cards. As we see the Escape Rope get played, so Jeremy's got to make another decision. What do I promote? Do I promote the Pikachu Zekrom? Do I think my opponent doesn't have the pieces? Or do I promote the Boltund, right? It doesn't feel great to promote either Pokemon here. Escape Rope just so powerful in this deck, obviously being reprinted. It's been printed multiple times, right, in previous expansions, the last one being Burning Shadows. So it looks like Luca may be going for this knockout with the Zacian V onto the active. We'll need to find an energy switch off of these 7 cards. Do we see it? And there it is.
Yeah, huge draw here. Can bring the energy from the benched Arceus Dialga Palkia up to the active. And you also have the Rusted Sword, so you have potential options for that in the future turns. Very solid draw for Luca. And we'll get this 3 prize knockout, and then all you need to do is find a way to KO one of these tag team Pokemon. And also, this Zacian V cannot really easily be knocked out. Actually, Luca kind of debating here what to do. I mean, you do run the risk if you just go with the attack here, take this knockout. You could just get your Zacian V paralyzed by a Raichu and a Alolan Raichu's Tandem Shock being copied by the Mewtwo and Mew, of course. So there is always that risk, potentially. But, I mean, Luca's got so many solid cards here for the next turn. You've got Energy Switch to move the energy off. You've got the energy to attach from hand to the bench, and then all you would need to find is like a Metal Saucer, and you're able to attack with this Zacian V on the bench that already has that Rusted Sword available.
Yeah, an interesting thing to note is that Pikachu and Zekrom, even without a Rusted Sword, Zacian V is dealing just enough damage to knock out, and we know that Jeremy is playing no copies of that Big Charm card that we see sometimes in these Pikachu and Zekrom decks. So he's going to start things out with a Cherish Ball. We'll be able to search out a deck for something like Dene GX to draw some more cards and get through the deck. Does go ahead and find that. And Speed Lightning Energy on the bench, so we could see something like a Tag Bolt this turn, but that just feels so scary, especially if you're not taking care of something like this Zacian that's all powered up. It means they could just come up and take a knockout on the Pikachu and Zekrom. So Jeremy's got to put on some pressure. Could use something like that Reset Stamp that he does play 2 of in the deck. I have to imagine that's a good card to look for this turn. So there's a lot of options here. As we see, Quick Ball will actually grab the Boltund. And looking over the list, it looks like there is no copies of a card we see sometimes, like that Tag Switch in the deck. So there's no way for this Boltund to get powered up unless we see something like a Tapu Koko Prism Star come down. But we already saw Jeremy attach that Speed Lightning Energy for turn. So that Boltund is no longer an option, as we actually see the Team Yell Grunt is the supporter of choice. Is going to throw that energy back in the hand, and it's compared great with the Reset Stamp to just put another card back in the deck. And Crushing Hammer here, this will be big if it hits heads. It will throw another energy off the board, but it does not. Here is the Reset Stamp, though, will come out. It is going to go ahead and put Luca down to a 3-card hand. I think would have been paired greatly with that Crushing Hammer, so Luca's got to find some cards now, but this is looking excellent. Especially when you Full Blitz at this point, it just doesn't feel great. Can't even get something off like a Tandem Shock, because there's no Raichu and Alolan Raichu in play or in the discard pile, so all Luca needs to find now, I believe if that Eldegoss is in deck, that will just secure the game at this point. If there is a Boss's Orders in the discard pile, has a few options. Cherish Ball even to utilize the Dene. There is still one more left in the deck, but we'll see here with Quick Ball if there is that Eldegoss in deck. It looks like there is not, so Eldegoss either discarded or in the prize cards here, so it looks like opting to grab the Arceus Dialga Palkia. Smart choices from him. He's going to go ahead and thin the deck out. Wants to make as many cards in the deck, utilize them to be playable cards. Even Escape Rope, I believe, in this case, is also a valid card. It will bring up either of those Pokemon on the bench, which will be knocked out to a Brave Blade. So you just have that many more options. There are 5 options in the deck, Chip. That pretty much seal off Luca the game. Still has to find another energy, but there are plenty left in the deck. So has tons of options to look through. We are just going to see him take some time, right? This is a crucial turn. You want to find the pieces you're looking for. You don't want your opponent to take a big 5-prize turn on your 2 main attackers. So actually has the energy in hand. So just needs to find one of the 5 cards that we talked about. Escape Rope or Boss. Those are the cards we're looking for. But it looks like Luca's actually debating what to attach to in this case.
Yeah, he actually needs to find a switch still, because this active Zacian did attack last turn. And of course, one of the effect there of Brave Blade is that you cannot attack in subsequent turns. So would need to go to the bench to clear that effect. But, you know, with the 2 Escape Rope in deck, you have a reasonable chance to do that. But it is a little risky. You know, if you draw into like the double saucer, you know, you could obviously just get double saucer plus boss, or 1 saucer plus an energy switch. So I think that's why we're seeing Luca debate what to attach to and ultimately choose to attach to that bench Zacian, as we do find the Escape Rope. So had Luca just attached to the active, would have been able to win the game with a Brave Blade.
That's gotta hurt. Something maybe like the more safe play, I guess, maybe in this case. It's questionable, right? Whether it's safer to attach to the bench. It's a little bit riskier, right? You need to find more pieces to get the cards together, but Luca probably just agonizing over not attaching that metal energy to the active would have gabbed the game, right? Retreat with Air Balloon in combination with the Escape Rope would bring up either of those 2 bench Pokemon, which would be knocked out by a Brave Blade. So now it's interesting. Luca's actually considering attaching these air balloons. We'll still be able to draw some cards off Intrepid Sword, but we are actually going to see this retreat into this Crobat. I like this play. Crobat now becomes a much bulkier Pokemon. Has not chosen it yet, but that would definitely be a smart play on Luca's side. It's a little bit more of a bulky Pokemon now with that big charm on it. Could also go into the Arceus style on Palkia if we expect something like a Tag Bolt, but that just allows your opponent to just take those prize cards even easier. So I don't know if I like that play as much of going into that Arceus style on Palkia. So again, Luca has a lot of options. It's going to be important that he takes the best route of play in order to put himself in the best advantage, right? Because at worst, he cannot lose the game this turn, right? There is no way for Jeremy to take 6 prize cards. And there's the boss's orders, which means if Jeremy doesn't have another reset stamp, Luca just has game in hand, has the energy, has boss's orders, and whether it's pivoting with this active or just promoting the Zacian for turn next turn, Luca has the card. So Jeremy will need to find a second copy of reset stamp in order to be able to stay alive in this game.
Yeah, and we'll see Jeremy potentially digging for it here, playing that quick ball. Could eye up either another Dedenne or a Crobat V. Definitely wants to try to limit ADP's options as much as possible. And like you said, we could see the Tag Bolt come out here, but then it's risky because that Zacian V on the bench does already have 2 energies on it. All your opponent would need is 1 more energy at that point. But with the Yell Grunt, that actually makes it much more difficult to pull off. Of course, Jeremy playing the 2 copies of Team Yell Grunt, potentially paying off big time here, especially if he's able to find that second reset stamp. That's definitely the card we're looking for here. Let's see if Jeremy is able to find it or not. Speed Lightning can draw a couple of more cards. Only 6 cards remaining in deck. Was he able to find the reset stamp or not? We haven't seen it yet, so I have a feeling he might have missed here.
Yeah, I think we would have maybe just saw that get slammed down right away if he had it, but I don't see it right away. We don't see it come down. And I mean, at worst, right, now Luca needs to find something like a Metal Saucer in order to take the game. Also doesn't have a pivoter necessarily, as we just see Full Blitz are actually going to utilize Tag Bolt on the active. A little bit of a weird play necessarily. I'm not quite sure. Maybe that was some sort of a misclick here from Jeremy. I don't really know why you would utilize Tag Bolt there.
Yeah, Full Blitz would have taken the KO as well, so feels like that would have been the best option, as we do see the game in hand now for Luca, top decking the energy switch, can just energy switch over to the Arceus Dialga Palkia, and then attach for turn as well. Boss's orders will be able to pick up the KO on Dedenne GX. It took a little bit of time, but ultimately, boss, GG, Luca able to take it down. Wait, actually just Ultimate Rang to the active, I believe had game there, right? Just had to play the boss's orders or the Great Catcher. Could have brought up either Dedenne to close things out. I think maybe got a little ahead of himself here.
Oh, I think we just saw 2 misclicks back to back, Chip. I have not seen this I don't think I've seen this before. Tag Bolt for not full effect to not take the knockout. Could have been able to wipe the Arceus Dialga off the board. Yeah, just off the board in general. And now it's back to Jeremy at this point. I mean, still not in a great spot, right? Still the boss's orders in the hand, but I feel like the bigger, I guess, misclick, if we're going to call it right, that, or misplay in this case, would have been if Jeremy had utilized that tag bolt for full effect last turn, would have put him in a lot better of a position than there is now. And we do see Quick Ball is going to grab that Eldegoss out of the deck. So interested to see what Jeremy chooses to go ahead and grab. Could he grab something like a Team Yelgren out of the discard pile, something like the Marnie? There's a bunch of options, and we do see it actually grab the Marnie. So Luca now doesn't necessarily have game in hand, but the problem with this is you can't just take a knockout because that Zacian V is taking a knockout at anything in the board. So I think Luca may just have checkmate straight up on board at this point. It feels like you would need to combine this with something like a Tandem Shock on... Yeah, Chip, I don't see any routes here where Jeremy can close this out.
I have to think that Jeremy, prized the Raichu and Alolan Raichu in this matchup. We haven't seen it ever hit the discard pile at any point there, and that's definitely a key card there to try to slow the ADPZ deck down a little bit. Man, a really interesting end there. That's the type of stuff that can happen with online play sometimes. You get a little excited, maybe click buttons a little too quickly. Luca, still able to close out the game, maybe getting never punished, as some would say, able to get the win, and now it's going to be on to Jeremy to try to fight back in this game number 2. We'll go ahead and get to choose whether or not to go first or second, and I have to imagine we'll see him choose to go second this time around so he can get that turn 1 Electrify and potentially be in a much stronger position in this game in the early game.
Yeah, turn 1 Electrify is a big part of this Pikachu and Zekrom deck, allowing you to get energies into play super duper quickly. And yeah, we're ready to go ahead and get into game number 2 between both these players. I have to imagine after that series of misclicks or whatever you want to call it, they're both going to be on their guard a little bit more, right? More alert to make sure they're clicking the right attacks and executing their strategy as perfectly as possible. So let's go ahead and get down into it here. Game number 2 between both of these players. It's going to be an exciting one. Again, such a close matchup. Some people say it's favored for the Arceus-style Agapulkia deck. Some say it's favored for Pikarom. It's one of these matchups that talk about how to play it and who's favored. It's been going on for a while, Chip. But I have to imagine it really just comes down to who can put on aggression faster, right? Who can get either the first full blitz? Do we see a turn 1 Ultra Creation? There's a lot of lines in this matchup, so it'll be interesting to see how both these players end up playing it out.
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of becomes whose deck is able to do what their deck was meant to do first. I feel like, who's able to, if Luca's able to pull off the Altered Creation, get some boss's orders onto things like the Dene and Crobats, if Jeremy puts them in play, Luca's going to be favored. But if Jeremy's able to get the Raichu and Alolan Raichu down, start full blitzing energies into play, start paralyzing with Raichu, maybe building up to big one-hit KOs with Bolt Storm, then, we would have to favor Jeremy. We'll just have to see how these early turns look. Jeremy, of course, getting a great start there with that Boltund V. Of course, like we mentioned, playing the full 4 copies of that card, really does just want to start it every single game he can so that he can get that Electrify super quickly. Luca, on the other hand, has a pretty solid hand as well, able to, go ahead and get a Zacian V in play. We could even see Cherish Ball attaching an energy to the Arceus Dialga-Palkia, or Cherish Ball going for a Dedenne change to try to draw some more cards. So lots of options here for Luca, how he wants to play the rest of this hand out.
Yeah, it looks like just taking a look through the deck to see what is prized.
It actually looks like that Dedenne, that Dedenne GX, the second Dedenne, actually looks like it is in the prize cards here. So a little unfortunate for Luca, only playing 2 copies of the card, starts one, prizes the other. And that means you're really going to be relying on the Intrepid Sword here to kind of get you out of this hand. I think considering that, we'd maybe want to just go ahead and see the attachment to an Arceus Dialga-Palkia here. Of course, wanting to attach the metal energy as opposed to a water, since your opponent is going to be playing the full 4 copies of Crushing Hammer, and that's exactly what we'll see from Luca. Gets the ADP, and here comes an Intrepid Sword. Hopefully, finding a supporter, and speaking of which, that's pretty good right there.
A supporter and a Crobat, like multiple ways to draw cards this following turn. Jeremy pretty much has the cards to get off the Electrify. I have to assume. Looks like took a few mulligans there as well, as there are 9 cards in that hand. Oh, yeah. I believe took 2 mulligans from Luca on top of this. So it's going to give Jeremy even more options to be able to execute the strategy, and at least wants to get an Electrify off. On something like a Mewtwo and Mew, that is your best attacker of this matchup. You really don't want to have to play down the Pikachu and Zekrom. It is just an easy 4 prizes your opponent can take. If you have to play it down, right, it's not the end of the world. It's better than Dedenne, but it still is not great, as we actually see Quick Ball is going to start things off, discarding the Boltund V out of the hand. So we'll see what that goes in and grabs. at minimum could grab something like the Mewtwo and Mew. We could see grab something like the Pikachu and Zekrom. So there's tons of options for Jeremy, even something like the Dene GX. Looking through Luca's hand from next turn has pretty nice options in order to get that Alter Creation off, as we do see that Mewtwo and Mew get grabbed. There's the Lightning Energy and followed up by a Marnie. So Luca's going to have to find those pieces now. We'll need to still find the energy and the, just the energy, right? The Air Balloon is on the active. So it'll be interesting to see what gets drawn. And oh no, this is not looking good for Luca here. Does not really have any pieces. Jeremy has the guaranteed Electrify, so we'll be able to accelerate some energies onto the Mewtwo Mew. There is no Pikachu and Zekrom in play or in the discard pile, so that Mewtwo is doing pretty much nothing right now, but we know how that can change pretty quickly. But Jeremy is going to want to find those pieces as soon as next turn at minimum.
We will go ahead and see that Electrify able to accelerate the energies to the Mewtwo and Mew. Yeah, it feels a little useless at this point, right? Since there's no tag team or GX Pokemon for the Mewtwo to copy, but pretty easy for Jeremy to find one of those pieces, as all we see from Luca is the top deck of the Metal Energy. So I think we're probably just going to have to see an Attach and an Intrepid Sword. I think I would like to see this attachment go onto the ADP, plays around a potential Crushing Hammer, right? That just forces you to find another piece potentially on this turn. But speaking of which, we do just see an energy switch, but unfortunately no draw cards from that Intrepid Sword.
Yeah, this is just feeling very weak for Luca here. Yeah, could have attached the energy to that Arceus Dialga Palkia to prevent it from maybe just a Crushing Hammer, right? We just see how disruptive Marnie is. It just can take you from being in an excellent spot to just this, right? Whatever we want to call this. Not very good is probably the best word I can use to describe this, as Jeremy has the potential to even take a knockout on this Dedenne, right? If he compares something like the Tapu Koko Prism Star with an attachment, this Boltund with an attachment would be dealing 130 damage. Needs to find the Tapu Koko Prism Star in addition to this attachment, as we actually see Quick Ball discard that Crobat. Does not want to use that in this matchup. It's just an easy target for Boss's orders. Instead, maybe going to find something like the Tapu Koko Prism Star. Instead, the Raichu and Raichu is another option to easily get there, right? Tandem Shock dealing 160 damage. If we see that and a switch, which we do see, will guarantee the knockout of the Dene. And when you're taking the first prize against Arceus Dialga and Palkia, most of the time, especially now, just feels like you're in such a solid spot.
Oh, definitely. And you've got that Raichu and Alolan Raichu available to you this game, something Jeremy unfortunately did not have in the last one. So, and the turn is not over yet, Ethan. We've got a Professor's Research as well. So plenty of options still for Jeremy. Could even try to find the Pikachu and Zekrom to go ahead and go for a full blitz and throw some more energies into play. But I think taking these first two prizes seems pretty strong.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense necessarily to take it, like, leave the Dene with nothing, right? With 10 HP remaining. It feels pretty useless. You can accelerate the energies onto board. Nothing's really threatening this Mewtwo and Mew. Even with Rusted Sword, it's not enough. There's no other damage modifiers in the deck. Alter Creation has not been utilized yet from Luca. So this is the question now. Luca is playing off a top deck. We'll see what Luca top decks. It's a Skyla, so that will allow him to find the Energy Spinner if he chooses to. Could also go for something else, but actually, as you say that, Dedenne is prized, and there are a lot of unthinnable cards, as we like to say, in this hand. Can't play the Metal Saucers, right? You could play the Escape Rope, right? You can play the Big Charm, but it just feels like too many unthinnable cards in this hand necessarily, but we could still see this grab Quick Ball, right? Could thin the energy out of the hand, utilize Metal Saucer, would allow Crobat to draw, I believe, 4 or 5 cards with this hand. I believe the only cards that cannot be thinned is that one Metal Saucer. So it can find 5 cards, but then you would have to find a Water Energy off of that. So we just see Luca eyeing up that Energy Spinner. It is the safer option, but again, would force Luca to play off yet another top deck. Chip, do you feel like this is a little too risky, or should Luca maybe play for something a little bit more aggressive and find something, or I don't even know what you call it, aggressive or risky, right? Both these plays just seem very aggressive at this point, right? Yeah, with Energy Spinner, you have to play for the top deck. With Quick Ball, you have to find the water. What do you think, Chip?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to go for the Altered Creation here. There's really no great card you can get off Skyla that really even draws you that many cards. I mean, I think really the best option, if you're wanting to get a draw card from your Skyla here, it would be just a Skyla for the research for next turn, to be honest, or the Marnie. So I think this is kind of your best option. You do still have an energy in hand, so you can still, at minimum, attack with Arceus Dialga Palkia this coming turn, though it is at risk of getting paralyzed to a Tandem Shock or getting hit very hard with a Bolt Storm. So we'll see if Luca goes with the Altered Creation here. I think that's what I'd like to see, but, I mean, I could understand with a dead hand here wanting to go for the Intrepid Sword.
Yeah, I think the scary thing that Luca maybe understands is how scary something like a tandem shock would be the following turn. There is nothing in this hand, right? No switching outs. You have the energy to Ultimate Ray, but you obviously cannot attack if you are paralyzed, and Crushing Hammerheads here will make it even harder to get something going next turn. I'm sure this will go ahead and discard the water energy. You don't want to give your opponent more access to something like Metal Saucer, which we see copies of in Luca's hand. So action on Jeremy has a few options. Really going to be looking for something like an air balloon or a switch. I think we've only seen a couple switch be played. Only one, actually. So Jeremy, having tons of options, can even manually retreat the Bolt Hunt if he so chooses to. Could also swing with the Bolt Hunt in this case. So there are a lot of options that can be played. So I think Jeremy, just taking some time to consider the options, wants to put himself in the best position possible. This definitely feels very dominating for Jeremy, right? Has already taken 2 prize cards, can set up math onto this ADP, and there's the air balloons. That will at least guarantee the tandem shock. So Luca is going to be playing off of yet another top deck in this position. Jeremy just feels like in the driver's seat here. Luca, just kind of the passenger watching this show go along and kind of just sitting in with your seatbelt on. What can I do is kind of all that Luca must be thinking at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Luca has plenty of good top deck draws here. And speaking of which, we're actually going to see Jeremy reset the hand here for Luca. Luca being very grateful, I'm sure, in this instance, that a Marnie being played. And that's one of the things about Marnie being such a popular card in the format is sometimes... you know, you have to play it in order to draw cards for yourself, but sometimes you also kind of help your opponent out a little bit. But speaking of helping your opponent out a little bit, that is not what happened for Luca here, as the draw is just equally as bad, almost, it feels like. And Jeremy is able to find another Crushing Hammerheads, which is huge.
Yeah, my eyes kind of opened up a little bit when I saw that other Marty hand. Like, are you kidding me? You gave me that poor of a hand. I have so many options in the deck to give me nothing. And then the Crushing Hammer on top of that here. It just seems like nothing is going
this way. Actually could work out pretty nicely here for Luca, though. Able to find that Metal Saucer there on the top of the deck. Grabs that Metal Energy back out. And with this Escape Rope, we'll be able to get a hit into one of these Pokemon. Let's see what Jeremy sends up here. Wisely choosing to send up the Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Now, Brave Blade is dealing 260 damage, which, you know, Raichu and Raichu has 260 HP, but it is resistant to metal, meaning Brave Blade will not quite be able to pick up this KO.
Yeah, we'll be 20 damage short of being able to take the knockout. I think maybe you're just going to go for Intrepid Sword. It really doesn't feel worth it to go ahead and hit into this Raichu and Alolan Raichu, and finding some good cards there. Like the energy on top of Quick Ball to find something like your Crobat the following turn. And Jeremy, though, the scary thing about this is we haven't seen Tapu Koko come down yet. This Bolt Hunt is hitting for 160 damage. So if we see the attachment and we see the Tapu Koko Prism Star, the Bolt Hunt will be dealing enough damage to wipe almost all the energy off of Luca's board, and will just put him one knockout away from being able to secure this game.
Yeah, definitely. There can be situations in these games where, like if we go for a full blitzes, Jeremy, you get to the point where there's just so many energy in play potentially for the Boltund, right, to start hitting for high amounts of damage, where if you're not able to deal with it quickly enough as the ADP player, Boltund can start picking up knockouts on everything in your deck.
And there we see the Quick Ball. It's going to get rid of that second lightning energy. If that Tapu Koko Prism Star is in the deck, it will secure the knockout onto this Zacian V. We'll be dealing 220 damage. Perfect math to deal with this Zacian V. Jeremy just looking through. I think you would probably grab it if it's in there, but players maybe just taking some time to think through everything. That would be very, very unfortunate if that Tapu Koko Prism Star was in the prize. At worst, right, assuming that Tapu Koko Prism Star is not in there, we could just see the retreat into the Mewtwo and Mew, and oh no. We just saw Boltund get grabbed there. I don't know if the Tapu Koko Prism Star is in deck. We do see Crushing Hammer. Yet another head is going to remove another energy. But there it is, actually. So he was playing us a little bit. Had it in hand the entire time. And that will secure the knockout on the Zacian V. Will wipe all of the energies now off of Luca's board. I think Luca realizes that this is a horrible spot to be in, especially with no way to deal with this Boltund. It means next turn, I think it's dealing enough damage to knock out anything. And I mean anything in Luca's deck. I believe now dealing 250 damage. Next turn, it will be 280. It is just so much damage. Look at that, 250 damage for a 2 energy attack on Boltund. This is the power of this card chip. This is the power of allowing your opponent to get so many energies in play that Boltund can just run over everything like a train.
Absolutely, definitely solid positioning here for Jeremy. Luca, you know, gonna go ahead and check the options here. We do see that Crobat V being grabbed here. Dark Asset can draw a few cards, but I mean, what are you hoping to hit here? You need double Metal Saucer plus an energy for a turn as well, and an Escape Rope to be able to even attack here. And yeah, it's just not happening.
Yeah, even played Boss's Orders to try to stall the Raichu and Alolan Raichu in the active. Not sure what I think about. I don't even know. At this point, this game is pretty much over. All Jeremy needs now is a switch or an air balloon, and this Arceus Dialga Pokemon would be taking way too much damage. Will easily be getting knocked out. So Jeremy's got a big hand. There's the switch. We'll switch into that Boltund and attach the energy for good measure, right? I can do as much damage as you have HP. 280 damage, gonna take an easy knockout onto that Arceus Dialga and Palkia. We're gonna have 2 games apiece here between these players. We're going to another exciting game 3 here, Chip, between both of these decks. A close matchup, right? Game 1, ADP pulled it out. Game 2, not the best draws, right? So Pigrom will pull it out. Going into game 3 here, Chip. What is the key? What do these players need to do in order to win this game? Staying in the winner's bracket again, so important. What is going to be the recipe for success, so to say, for both these players?
Well, I mean, I think if you're Luca, step 1 is going to be having access to Dedenne GX and drawing a little bit better here. Definitely had some awkward draws in that one. Of course, starting at Dedenne and then prizing the second copy of it never helps, but could have definitely drawn a little bit better, would have been beneficial to him there for sure in that game. Jeremy, I think, just executed his game plan extremely well in that game. I don't really think Jeremy needs to make any adjustments or changes, and it's not really that Luca needs to either, and that's what we would expect from these high-level players, right? Not really, I mean, we saw a couple mistakes maybe in that first game, a little misclick here or there, but overall, extremely good play. You know, you've fought through your region to get to this point to be playing in the global finals, and, hopefully we'll just see an excellent game 3 here between these two players.
Like you said, top tier gameplay. It just feels awesome to watch this, right? You see these players sequencing perfectly. They're playing their outs, and it's just really cool to see top level Pokemon play. And I hope you guys are enjoying that as well. We're gonna go ahead and get into game number 3 between both these players. It's an important one. The winner will stay in that bracket, and the loser will go down to the loser's bracket again. So tough to traverse through that loser's bracket. A lot easier to just continue to win, as it looks like Luca will be able to go and choose whether or not to go first. And it looks like Luca is again going to opt to go second, forcing Jeremy to go first. Is this the way to go, Chip? Do you think Luca has figured out the success when it comes to starting this matchup out?
Yeah, Luca definitely seems to think this is the strategy to go with, and it can be really strong. It could slow Pikachu Zekrom down quite a bit, and you give yourself the option to potentially pull off an incredible turn 1 Altered Creation play. And as we see, Jeremy only able to attach an energy to Boltund, meaning that there is no threat of Full Blitz on turn 2. So it could work out pretty well for Luca, whose hand is looking a little weak.
Yeah, it looks like has to play down a few more Pokemon, like another Boltund V and Tapu Koko Prism Star. But on Luca, it's going to have to be forced to play this Skyla. It's not going to be bad. It's most likely going to find that Quick Ball in order to get that Metal Energy into this card pile. Can then Metal Saucer, Energy Switch. There's a whole bunch of options, right? At minimum, we could see this grab a Zacian out of the deck to Intrepid Sword. We could see it grabbed a Dedenne to play a little bit more aggressive. So there's lots of options that Luca could take. But most importantly, is going to search through the deck to see what is in there. Looks like a big charm in the prizes here that could be pretty useful to throw onto your more fragile Pokemon or onto your ADP to keep that alive for maybe an extra turn. Also looking through the deck, it looks like there is only just one Metal Energy prize. So this is where things get tricky, but he is going to go ahead and grab that Quick Ball. Like I said, wants to just go ahead and maybe power up a Zacian slowly. Has a lot more options to grab Quick Ball, right? There's so many Pokemon in this deck, all of them being basics, so it just opens up more routes of play. I think just considering what to grab here, Chip, right? There's a lot of routes. There's a lot of ways you can play this out, and I think at minimum we're going to see this grab something. So it is actually going to go ahead and discard the Tool Scrapper. So interesting to see that Metal Energy is not going to the discard pile. Maybe assuming it will just naturally go there via Jeremy getting lucky and hitting Crushing Hammerhead. So Luca playing a little bit differently, I guess, not going to take the route of accelerating more energy into play. We're just going to see the Intrepid Sword grab a few good cards there, right? Marnie, Boss, Dedenne, lots of options now for Luca going into the next turn, as Jeremy is going to start things off, is going to want to find a good target to electrify onto, right? Not the best to electrify onto a Boltund, so to say. You really want to start full blitzing and accelerating energy into play as fast as you can. And there you go, Chip. There's the Pikachu and Zekrom. So I think we may be seeing another electrify here for Jeremy's second turn.
And we are going to see the Marnie as well come out from the Luca, or from Jeremy. I really, from Luca, would have liked to have seen that Metal Energy go onto the Arceus Dialga Palkia. Putting it on the Zacian, I guess, can let you threaten a Brave Blade, but when are you ever realistically going to go for a Brave Blade after your opponent's just pulled off an Electrify, right? Yeah, and see, now in this situation, Luca has just forced himself into having to find an energy switch now in order to pull off Altered Creation.
Yeah, playing a little bit more risky, right? It feels like that way when you force yourself to find extra pieces on top of things. And Luca is just struggling to get Alter Creation off when he plays more risky, like we saw in Game 2, attaching the Metal Energy to the Zacian instead of just throwing it onto your main attacker in this case, and your main setup Pokemon, right? Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, a great attacker and a great GX attack. So we are actually going to see Boss's Orders get discarded off of the Quick Ball. It's going to give Luca a few options. So it looks like eyeing up another Zacian, maybe get powered up. Mawile. We haven't seen Captivating Wink yet this set, Chip. We could see maybe a lucky Captivating Wink. Here we go. It's going to go ahead and get played down. What do we see here? Captivating Wink will find a pretty solid Pokemon. And Eldegoss is also going to leave Jeremy with nothing in hand, pretty much. We see these, I guess, blind Mawiles, right? You don't know what your opponent has in hand necessarily. And it's so powerful when it does hit these support Pokemon. So many of them in the format, right? You have Dedenne, Crobat, Eldegoss, so many options. As we see, Dedenne is going to go ahead and draw Luca more cards. Do we see the... No energy switch yet. So does have research, but it feels bad, especially against an energy disruption deck, right? That plays Crushing Hammer, Team Yell Grunt, to have to get rid of so many important pieces. Only playing 2 water energy in deck, and smartly, Luca is going to go ahead and just take the turn to Intrepid Sword. Does have the energy switch for next turn, but it's going to open up the ability. Jeremy does have 1 Crushing Hammer in hand, so a nice top deck though, and the Speed Lightning energy is going to allow him to draw 2 more cards, set this Boltund up. Interesting choice to not go into the Pikachu, and Zekrom I think at minimum wants to attack this turn. With the Boltund as there's Crushing Hammer, this does not hit heads. That would have been a big heads hit. Would slow that Arceus Dialga Palkia down a turn potentially. We do know Luca has the cards in hand, but that would leave Luca with no more water energy in deck after that second one gets attached. Only playing 2 water energy, so a little bit more risky. Playing not as many water energy. We see some lists play 3, some lists play 2. Luca opting to go for 2 water in this deck. As Cherish Ball, we'll go ahead and search the deck out. Could grab something like a Mewtwo Mew. Could also grab Dedenne to draw some more cards. We do know Jeremy's hand besides this. Well, we don't know what he drew off Speed Energy. We do know Cherish Ball was one of those 2 cards. So 1 unknown card in Jeremy's hand currently. So it'll be interesting to see what he decides to grab, and it is going to be that Dedenne GX, Dedenne Change. Such a powerful ability. And Reset Stamp, though, is going to throw Luca's hand down to 6 new cards. Luca not having the best draw so far. This hand is okay, right? It's workable. It's workable in this case. A lot better than what Luca has seen in previous games. And is going to be forced to discard one of those Mewtwo Mew. You'd rather see that on the board than something like this Pikachu and Zekrom, which can get knocked out a lot easier from the opposing Zacian V. So Jeremy also has the ability to utilize Tapu Koko Prism Star. Will boost the damage of Boltund by 70. Boltund is hitting for 160 damage right now, so would force it up to 100 or 220 damage, excuse me, which is a decent chunk of damage. Would easily set up for a 2-hit knockout onto this Arceus Dialga Palkia. Could also Full Blitz into it, right? That Pikachu and Zekrom is now fully powered up, has 3 energies onto it. So Jeremy, again, in the driver's seat, has a lot of potential plays to make. And Chip, what do you think? If Jeremy, so to say, has a switching card in hand, right? Like an air balloon, like a switch, would it be better to go for something like a Boltstorm here? Well, it makes a lot more sense now with Boltstorm dealing 220 damage, can now take an easy knockout onto the Zacian V.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is huge. Being able to get this knockout, take the first 2 prizes. We saw Jeremy end up winning the game where he took the first knockout last time, right? So maybe Jeremy trying his hand at that once again, dealing exactly 220 damage there with the Bolt Storm. Could have gone for the option, like you said, of a Full Blitz. We do see that the air balloon was in hand, but I like the aggression here. You know that your opponent is not going to be able to knock out this Boltund, and if you get another Boss's Orders and an energy attachment for this coming turn, you take 2 more prizes, and then you put another energy in play, you're now only 1 more energy away from being able to knock out Arceus Dialga Palkia, which cannot be knocked out. That cannot knock out your opposing Boltund, right? So you're in a situation where you're kind of in the driver's seat now, and you've put your opponent on the back foot.
Yeah, it is interesting to note Luca does play Big Charm, so that could slow down a little bit, would force Jeremy to find 1 more energy, but we do know there are still a fair amount of Boss's Orders in Jeremy's discard pile, 2 more left. So this is going to be interesting to see what line of play Jeremy takes with promoting a Pokemon. I think, yeah, this is fine. You can promote the Dedenne here. I really don't think it matters. I think if Luca has the opportunity, he's going to go for an Alter Creation. But now it's even harder, right? All you were before is an energy switch away. Now you could still attach for turn. So there is still that ability. He's going to go ahead and draw 2 cards off of that. 2 not so great cards. You really don't want to draw into your Boss's Orders when you're digging through your deck. We do see Quick Ball, though. They'll go ahead and grab another Zacian out of the deck. you want to get those down so you can power them up with Ultimate Ray. Also has the Rusted Sword in the deck, and is going to play another Escape Rope. So Jeremy is forced to make a bunch of micro decisions here. What do I want to throw up? The Dene's safe. Well, I'm going to play another one. Now you got to choose again. It's going to throw up the other Fragile V Pokemon, that being Eldegoss V, as we will see Research get played. It's going to go ahead and discard the hand. 7 fresh new cards. Does luckily find the Metal Energy, as well as a few Metal Saucers. So Luca not out of this yet, right? Can still find something like a Gusting card. We do see that Great Catcher in hand, so I'm not going to count Luca out yet, Chip. I think Luca still has potential to win this game. I think it's going to be up to Jeremy. Definitely. If Jeremy finds Boss's Orders this turn, I think it's pretty much over, because then there's no way, really, for Luca to take a knockout on the Boltund, and Boltund just feels like it's dealing too much damage at that point.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, a couple of Boss's Orders in a row would seal the game up for Jeremy. Normally, it's Arceus, Dialga, Palkia decks that are taking advantage of using multiple bosses in a row, right? So maybe flipping the tables a little bit here on Jeremy's side. But Jeremy, Luca, if Jeremy does not get the back-to-back Boss's Orders here and isn't able to knock out Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, I mean, it's set up for Luca to just be able to go boss, knockout, boss, knockout. There's 2 Dedenes now in play at this point. Your opponent isn't going to be able to one-hit KO this Arceus, Dialga, Palkia. So maybe we even want to see a Raichu and Raichu. Oh, well, I guess no, there's no Mewtwo in play, right? It's that Pikachu Zekrom on the bench, not the Mewtwo. So doesn't even have that option available. Luca, with that Great Catcher in hand, definitely very far from out of this one.
But there we see the Boss's Orders. That is going to be big. Will allow this Boltund to take a knockout on the Zacian V, and like you said, this was probably the most important turn for Jeremy. This Boss's Orders will pretty much seal the game up here. If Luca finds Big Charm, right, this Arceus Dialga Pokemon will be able to survive with 30 HP remaining. But that's a big ask with this hand, Chip. This is going to be a big top deck here. It's just a Metal Saucer, and Luca's got pretty much nothing here. I mean, I guess you can Great Catcher up at the Dene and not take a knockout, but if you do take a knockout here, this game is over. As long as Jeremy has yet another energy card, I think you have to play your outs. I think you have to take a knockout at the Dene.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
hope your opponent doesn't have it, right?
Yeah, and triple Metal Saucer in hand too. Wow, that would have felt so nice to find something like that Zacian there, right? Would be able to take a knockout onto the Boltund. Triple Metal Saucer, always nice to have in hand, but here we go. Ultimate Ray, gonna take 3 prizes onto this active, the Dene, and here we go. Jeremy just needs to find a single Lightning Energy here. There's a high chance he has it, Chip. If he does, we'll advance to the next round of winners, and we'll send Luca into the loser's bracket.
Definitely. It's going to come down to this. Jeremy has plenty of ways to draw cards as well. Of course, Research would be working for him, as Luca taking one of those big charms off the prizes I'm sure he would have loved to have had. Let's see it. Does Jeremy have that additional energy? He does. There we go. Speed Lightning Energy, drawing 2 cards, and then we'll be able to deal a massive 280 damage, one-hit KOing this ADP, and playing the Reset Stamp as well for good measure. Let ADP have it. There you go. Jeremy Lim able to take the win here, and we'll move on to the next round of the winner's bracket. Luca not eliminated quite yet, but will have to fight his way through that loser's bracket in order to find a spot in the potential losers finals.
Yeah, playing the